Hi children, welcome to yet another section. Last class we learned two types of pairs of angles. Today we will learn the next type of pair of angles. Okay. So, look at this figure children. So, here you can see three rays you can see. OC is a ray here, OB is a ray here, OE is a ray here. You can see three rays here, is it? And we already studied if two rays is having a common point, we will get one angle, is it? So, that means here you will have one angle, here also you will have one angle, okay? So, when two rays intersect or if two rays having a common point, we will get one angle. So, this ray and this ray are intersecting at this point, common point, okay? And this ray and this ray are again intersecting at the same point, okay? The common end point, we know that the common end point is known as what? The common end point is known as vertex. If two rays are intersecting at a common point, that common end point is known as what? Vertex, okay? And we already learned if two rays intersect, we will get one angle there, they will form one angle, okay? Now, can you identify any common thing in these two angles? Common thing? You can see that in these two angles, this end point is same, is it? In these two angles, this angle and this angle, I will give it as angle 1 and angle 2. We will name it as angle 1 and angle 2. In these two angles is having a common vertex. So, these two angles is having a common vertex. What is the common? Which is the common vertex here? Common vertex. Which is the common vertex? O. Okay, that common point is known as common vertex. That common end point where the two rays are meeting, that common point is known as vertex, and which is the letter given here? O. So, we can say the common vertex here it is O. Now, can you identify any other common thing in these two angles? You can see that these two angles is having a common arm. These two angles is having a common ray. This ray is common to the angle 1 and angle 2. This ray is common to angle 1 and angle 2. We know that the rays are known as arms of the angle. This is one arm, this is one arm, this is one arm. There are three arms in this figure, okay? The rays are called arms of the angle, and this arm, this ray is common to angle 1 and angle 2. This ray is common to angle 1 and angle 2. So, which is the common ray here? Common ray or common arm you can write. Common arm is OB. So, in this figure we can see a common vertex, that is O, and you can see a common ray or common arm, that is OB. Now, you can see that, so this is the common arm, is it? So, this is the common arm. So, if this is the common arm, surely this ray OC and OA are the uncommon arms, is it? So, we can write it as OC and this is uncommon arm or non-common arm. Uncommon arm. This is also uncommon arm. Uncommon arm, okay? So, in this figure, you can see two uncommon arms are there, and the common arm OB is common to angle 1 and angle 2. So, uncommon arms are on either side of the common arm. One is in this side and one is in this side. The uncommon arms are on either side of the common arm. So, what you can write here? Uncommon arms or non-common arms are on either side of the common arm. Either side of the common arm. Either side of the common arm. Uncommon arms are either side of the common arm. So, if these three conditions are satisfying, we can say that angle 1 is adjacent to angle 2. If these three conditions, all the three conditions are important. If these three conditions are satisfying, common vertex, common arm and the uncommon arms are on either side of the common arm. If these three conditions are satisfying, we can say that angle 1 is adjacent to angle 2. Angle 1 is adjacent to angle 2. Or you can say that angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent angles. Or you can say that angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent angles. Angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent angles. Adjacent angles. So, which all conditions we have to satisfy? First, common vertex should be there, common arm is there, and the non-common arms or uncommon arms on either side of the common arm. Either side of the common arm. This is the common arm. This is the common arm. The uncommon arms are on either side of the common arm. So, if these three conditions are satisfying, we can say that angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent angles. We can say that angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent angles. So, we will write one definition for that. Okay. So, adjacent angles means what? Adjacent angles means they have two angles are said to be adjacent. This is the third pair of angles. Third pair of angles. We already studied two types of pair of angles, is it? This is the third type of pair of angles. Which is third type? Adjacent angles. Now, what do you mean by adjacent angles? Two angles are said to be adjacent angles if they have a common vertex. That's important. They should have a common vertex. And they have a common arm. Common arm should be there. And the other arms, or you can say the uncommon arms or non-common arms. The non-common arms. The non-common arms of the two angles lie on either side of the common arm. Is it clear? So, if these three conditions are satisfying, we can say that the two angles are adjacent angles. Okay. So, we will move to the next thing. Now, look at this figure. Are the following angles adjacent? Are the following angles adjacent? Give reasons. Look at the A figure. A figure. What is A figure? A figure, you can see that angle 1 is this, angle 2 is this, and they have a common vertex. Common vertex is there. Okay. Common vertex. But is there any common arm for these two angles? Common ray for these two angles? Is there any common ray for these two angles or common arm for these two angles? So, this belongs to, this is the ray for this angle and this is the ray for this angle, is it? So, they have a common vertex, but there is no common arm. So, we can say that angle 1 and angle 2 are not adjacent, Angle 1 and angle 2 are not adjacent. What is the reason for that? Because they don't have a common arm. What is the reason? Angle 1 and angle 2 are not adjacent. What is the reason for that? They don't have a common arm. Now, look at the next figure. Look at the B question. Now, this is common vertex for these two angles. Angle 1 is this, angle 2 is this. Common vertex is there, but one problem is there. Here the overlapping is coming. That means covering the same part. Angle 2 is covering the part of angle 1 itself, is it? If there is overlapping also, angles are not adjacent. So, they do not overlap. Okay. So, what you can say, here also angle 1 and angle 2 are not adjacent. What is the reason? Because they are overlapping. Okay. So, the angles are, the interior points are same, the overlapping is coming. So, we can say that two angles are not adjacent. Now, you look at the third question, C question. Now, angle 1 is this, angle 2 is this. So, what is the first condition for the adjacent angles? They should have a common vertex. Is there any common vertex for these two angles? Here the vertex is this and here the vertex is this. Is there any common vertex? No, there is no common vertex for these two angles. So, we can say they are not adjacent. What is the reason? They don't have a common vertex. If any one of the conditions is not satisfying, the angles are not adjacent. If any one condition is not satisfying, the angles are not adjacent. Okay. So, here they do not have a common vertex. So, we can say they are not adjacent. Now, you look at the D question. Look at the D question. You can see one angle here and one angle here. These two angles is having a common vertex. So, common vertex is this. This is the common vertex. We will mark it as O. Common vertex is there. And is there any common ray or common arm is there? This ray is common to both the angles. This ray is common to both the angles. Okay. This ray is common to both the angles. And what is the third property, third condition? The non-common arms, the uncommon arms on either side of the common arm. So, the common arm is this, one uncommon arm is in this side and one uncommon arm is in this side. So, all the three conditions are satisfying. We can say that angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent angles. What you can say here? Angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent angles. I hope this is clear. Angle 1 and angle 2 are adjacent angles. So, what do you mean by adjacent angles? If two angles are said to be adjacent, they should have a common vertex, common arm, and the uncommon arms or non-common arms should lie on either side of the common arm. That is very important. Uncommon arms lie on either side of the common arm. Okay. I hope all these problems are clear. Here there is no common arm, that is why they are not adjacent. Here overlapping is coming, that is why they are not adjacent. Here there is no common vertex, that is why they are not adjacent. Here everything is satisfying, so they are adjacent angles. Okay. I hope this is clear. Now move to the next section. Now look at this figure. In this figure, you can see how many rays you can see here. You can see 3 rays here, is it? You can see 3 rays here. And we know that if 2 rays is having a common point, we will form one angle there, is it? So, here one angle is there and here also one angle is there. Okay. So, we got 2 angles here. We can name it as angle 1 or angle 2. Angle 1, angle 2. Now, look at this figure. These angles are adjacent angles. So, what is the condition for adjacent angles? They should have a common vertex. So, is there any common vertex? Yes, you can see a common vertex here. So, this O is common. O is the common vertex for angle 1 and angle 2. Now, is there any common arm or common ray for these 2 angles? Yes. So, this is the common ray for these 2 angles. This is the common ray for these 2 angles. Okay. So, common vertex is there. Common vertex is there. Common vertex. So, we got a common arm. And what is the third condition for adjacent angles? The uncommon arms on either side. Look at the uncommon arms here. This is one uncommon arm. So, mark it as X and Y. So, OX is one uncommon arm, OY is the next uncommon arm, and they are lying on either side. One is in this side and one is in this side. But look at this figure carefully. You can see that here the uncommon arms are opposite rays. That means one is in this side and one is in this side. Opposite rays, and they form a straight line. Okay. So, they are opposite rays and they form a straight line. So, this type of adjacent angles is having a special name. What is the name? Linear pair. So, what is the name? Linear pair. So, we can say that linear pair of angles. So, we can say that angle 1 and angle 2 are linear pair of angles. So, what are the conditions? Common vertex, common arm, and the third one is uncommon arms. Uncommon arms are opposite rays here, are opposite rays, and that means they form a straight line. Uncommon arms are opposite rays here and they form a straight line. And we already studied some of the angles at a point on one side of a straight line is equal to 180 degree. We know that the sum of this angle is what is a straight line? Straight angle is coming. What is the sum of this angle? this angle sum is 180. Angle sum is 180 because the angles at a point on a straight line is sum of the angle is 180. Sum of the angles at a point on one side of a straight line is 180. So, what you can say, sum of angle 1 and angle 2 is, sum of angle 1 plus angle 2 is what? 180, because they are standing in a straight line. Okay. So, adjacent angles and supplementary, you can say, we know that if the sum of the angle is 180, that type of angles are known as supplementary angles. So, if adjacent angles and supplementary, we can say they form a linear pair. What is the name? They form a linear pair. Okay. So, what are the conditions for linear pair? Adjacent angles and supplementary, and the important thing is here the uncommon arms are opposite rays. Uncommon arms are opposite rays and they form a straight line. Remaining conditions, they have a common vertex, common arm. So, we have to satisfy the conditions of adjacent angles and we have to satisfy the conditions of supplementary angle. Then only the angles form a linear pair there. Okay. So, what are the conditions for adjacent angles? Common vertex, common arm and the uncommon arms on either side. But for linear pair, uncommon arms are opposite rays. That's very important. Opposite rays, that means they form a straight line, and we know that sum of angles at a point on one side of a straight line is 180 degree. That means adjacent angles and supplementary. Adjacent angle and supplementary, such angles form a linear pair. Adjacent angles and supplementary, such angles form a linear pair. I hope what do you mean by linear pair of angles is clear. Linear pair of angles means adjacent angles and supplementary. The important thing is here the uncommon arms are opposite rays. Okay, here the uncommon arms are opposite rays. So, angles form a linear pair here. Okay, this is the fourth type of pair of angle. Fourth type of pair of angle. First type is complementary angle, second type is supplementary angle, third type is adjacent angle, and the fourth type of pair of angle is linear pair. Okay, linear pair means adjacent angle and supplementary. That means adjacent angle conditions you have to satisfy and the supplementary condition. If that two cases are coming together, we can say that they form a linear pair. Okay, now move to the next part. So, linear pair of angles means what? Two angles form a linear pair if they have a common arm, common vertex, their interiors do not overlap, and sum of two angles is 180 degree. That's important. So, therefore, linear pair of angles are adjacent angles whose non-common arms are opposite rays. I hope all these statements are clear. Adjacent angles, sum of angles is 180 degree and the non-common arms are opposite rays. If all these conditions are satisfying, such angles are called linear pair of angles. Such angles are called linear pair of angles. Okay, this is the fourth type of pair of angles. Fourth type of pair of angles. Fourth type of pair of angles. Now the next one is, now suppose we are having two lines. Suppose we are having one line as this and one line as this. Suppose we are having two lines and I am naming this line as line L and line M. We already studied we can name the complete line by using small letter, is it? So, that is line L and this is line M. Now, look at these two lines. These two lines are intersecting at this point. This is the point of intersection, or you can say this is the intersecting point of these two lines. Okay, this common intersecting point, this point of intersection is known as vertex of this. Okay, this is nothing but vertex. Okay, so how many angles you can see here? You can see one angle here, one angle you can see here, one angle you can see here. Is it? Now, which are the next angles in this figure? Next angle is one angle here and one angle here. So, when two lines intersect, we will get four angles. I will name it as angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, angle 4. So, when two lines intersect, we will get four angles. Okay, four angles we will get. And now I already told you this is the vertex of the angle. This is the vertex of the angle. Now, which are the angles opposite to the vertex? You can see that 1 and 3 are opposite to the vertex, is it? Angle 1 and angle 3 are opposite to the vertex, opposite to this vertex. Okay. Now, which is the next pair of angles which is opposite to this vertex? Angle 2 and angle 4 are opposite to this vertex. Okay. So, when two lines intersect, we will get 4 angles, and you can see that this angle 1 and angle 3 is opposite to this vertex. Like the same way 2 and 4 are opposite to this vertex. So, when two lines intersect, we will get 2 pair of opposite angles, 2 pair of opposite angles. This opposite angles are known as vertically opposite angles. This is the first pair of vertically opposite angle, first pair of vertically opposite angle, and this is the second pair of vertically opposite angle. So, when two lines intersect, we will get 2 pairs of vertically opposite angles, and you have to learn that the vertically opposite angles so formed are equal. The proof for this statement that you will learn in your higher classes, just understand only this much. When two lines intersect, we will get 2 pairs of vertically opposite angles, and that vertically opposite angles are always equal. I think it is clear. When two lines intersect, we will get 2 pairs of vertically opposite angles, and the vertically opposite angles that so formed are equal. So, what you can say, angle 1 and angle 3 are equal. Angle 1 and angle 3 are equal. Like the same way, angle 2 is equal to angle 4. So, what is the condition? Vertically opposite angles are equal. When two lines intersect, the vertically opposite angles are equal. So, we can say that angle 1 is equal to angle 3, angle 2 is equal to angle 4. Why we are saying angle 2 and angle 4 are vertically opposite angles? Because they are opposite to this vertex. This is the vertex, and angle 2 and angle 4 are opposite to this vertex. Like the same way, angle 1 and angle 3 are opposite to this vertex. That is why we are calling it as vertically opposite angles. So, when two lines intersect, we will get 2 pairs of vertically opposite angles, and the vertically opposite angles are equal. Okay, children, this is the, so vertically opposite angle, this is the 5th type of pair of angles. Which is the 5th type of pair of angles? We already studied complementary angle, supplementary angle, adjacent angle, linear pair, and the 5th type of pair of angle is vertically opposite angle. So, what is vertically opposite angle? When two lines intersect, 4 angles are formed. 4 angles are formed. The pair of angles which lie opposite sides of the point of intersection are called vertically opposite angles. That means, this is the point of intersection. This is the point of intersection, and you can see that this angle and this angle are opposite to this vertex. So, we can say that they are vertically opposite angles. Like the same way, you can see that this angle and this angle are opposite to this point. Okay. So, we can say that that is the next pair of vertically opposite angles, and I already told you vertically opposite angles are equal. Now, I will give you one example. Suppose this is 2 lines, and this is the point of intersection, and this is x, and this is 70 degree. So, how will we find the value of x? You can see that x and 70 are what type of angle? Vertically opposite angle. X and 70 are vertically opposite angles. Okay, why we are calling it as vertically opposite angles? Because they are opposite to this vertex, because they are opposite to this vertex. So, we can say that x and 70 are vertically opposite angles, and we already learned that vertically opposite angles are equal. So, what is the value of x? X is equal to 70 degree. What is the value of x? X is equal to 70 degree. This angle and this angle are equal. Like the same way, this angle and this angle are equal because they are vertically opposite angles, and vertically opposite angles are always equal. I hope all these types of pairs of angle is clear for you. That's all for today. Thank you.